What's going on, Tamers? It's your boy, Guy, who is excited that locals have started back up in Tokyo. Thank God. It's been pretty much an entire year at this point where we haven't had locals. But anyway, I got a bone to pick with the Digimon TCG, and maybe I'm stirring up trouble out of nothing. That's not the intention here. It's just a light conversation. Let's put it that way. I think that offense in the Digimon TCG right now is too strong. So I'm gonna take this and attack this at 2 points. So hear me out. So first off, in pretty much every set of the game right now that's happened thus far, Rookie Rush has been top tier. Rookie Rush has been a very strong contender for tier 1 decks. You take a look at, again, early in the game, Rookie Rush has been a thing. I know BT6 is just releasing over on the English side of the game. Spoilers, Agumon and Gabumon are likely tier 1 decks. And if you don't like those decks, then I have bad news for you. You're probably going to see them a lot. You're going to hate it. But that's not all. Hybrids, which if you're playing the JP version of the game, hybrids are really big right now. Hybrids have the ability to bypass a lot of security effects. You're probably wondering, well, how is that possible? Well, normally, before hybrids became very big, what you could do is you could have all your Digimon on the board and you could swing with them one by one. The problem is, if those Digimon were on the board and you would check the security that destroys Digimon on the board, your opponent could opt to destroy Digimon who had not attacked yet. The thing with hybrids, though, is you can just hold on to your tamers, and right now there's very little to no tamer removal. And you can one by one Digivolve a tamer into a hybrid, swing, wait for the security check. If it's a security that destroys Digimon, well, you have no Digimon, but you have plenty of tamers, and they can't be touched. So that one Digimon that attack gets destroyed, you Digivolve your next tamer, attack again, and you can just one by one just eat through security that way. So these two things really make defending in the game very difficult. And you're probably saying, well, East, why not just play blockers? Why not just play blockers? Easy. Well, besides the fact that blockers eat up the spot that hybrids would take up, there's a couple of problems, I think, with blockers in the game right now. The simplest one being most colors have a way to bypass blockers outright, and for very, very little memory. So, for example, you've got things like Bao Huckmon, which the inheritance effect is drop a 5k Digimon on your opponent's side of the board, which includes blockers. Gabumon straight up just sends level 5 or lowers back to the bottom of the deck whenever he attacks. So, I mean, unless you have run a level 6 blocker, you're gonna be hard pressed to get to stop that effect. And most decks just don't run blockers that high or that big at all. You've got things like Yellow being able to drop Digimon's DP by massive amounts, or even if it's 5 or 6k, that's not a hard number to get to for them. Again, Green can rest. Again, the list goes on. It's very easy to get around blockers. So I think that their usefulness just doesn't really pan out for the game right now. Additionally, like when you play a blocker, there's this really weird thing where you just can't swing without them losing memory. Isn't that a double negative? Think about it for a second. Like, you swing with a blocker, they become suspended, and then you can't block with him. So that's already you trading off their ability to block for making an attack. But then after that, you have to pay 2 memory to do it. Doesn't that seem weird? That seems really strange to me. Maybe I'm crazy, but why not just give them one single negative in the fact that if you swing, you can't block. That's it. That makes sense to me. It feels like it's too punishing to swing with a blocker. Besides the fact that they just can't block next turn. Side note, I would love if they just gave all blockers inherent reboot. That would be awesome. But that's for another video. So, you're probably saying, well, okay, blockers are too weak, offense is too strong. East, what's the solution? What do I do? What can Bandai do to make defense in the game stronger? And I have this really interesting idea that I think that we can take from a page in Yu-Gi-Oh's book and drop into Digimon. And if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, you probably know what I'm talking about already. But what if we introduce the concept, or Bandai introduced the concept of hand blockers in the game? Suddenly, there becomes this super interesting interactivity or mind game between how many blockers does my opponent have in their hand? Do I know that they have one? Maybe they have more. Is it a really blocker-centric deck where they can keep playing blockers to get through attacks? And then if you have the blocker in hand, you have to worry about, okay, well, I've got all these blockers in hand. These are Digimon that I could use to Digivolve and to get to my level 6s or to higher Digimon, or use their effects when they're played, or I can spend them as a blocker to stop an attack. There's a case to be made of making those blockers from your hand free, or for making them pay a cost. Maybe like something like the equivalent of their Digivolve cost to play them as a blocker from your hand. And then after the attack is done, they would just immediately be gone to the trash. So again, you're trading off the ability to use that Digimon as just a quick blocker from your hand for a smaller cost. Again, we could argue that that could also be made a free cost if you play it from your hand. Because again, you're losing card advantage by playing a blocker. But like, suddenly there becomes this mind game where you can block attacks without having to, you know, set something up on the board and spend memory. It puts your opponent in this state where they have to kind of think about what's in your hand, how many cards you have in your hand, and if it's worth making the attack right now to see if there's a blocker in hand. I think that would be such an interesting mind game that the game could explore. I think for most people, the interactivity of the game is really what sells it for them. For example, the memory system, I think, is the biggest seller for a lot of players right now, in that you get to basically choose how much memory you your opponent to work with. Now, if you could layer that on with the ability to choose whether to use a Digimon as a blocker from your hand or play it as a Digimon on the board, and, you know, stave off attacks and choose which attacks to let through and which attacks not to let through, without the ability of your opponent to just raw clear them with some effect, I think it's super interesting. Anyway, that's it for this one. I didn't want to harp too much more on it, but yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Is offense a problem in your view in the game? Or should Bandai play with the idea of hand blockers? Would it slow down the game too much? Again, let me know your thoughts. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Y'all, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, you still watching? That's what's up. You're a real one for that. Do me a favor, though. If you're still watching at this point, like, you probably liked the video, or you probably felt engaged with the video. My goal right now is to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm trying so damn hard. Do me a favor and just subscribe. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. That'll be good. Go.